Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this episode of the BoZ online program. We are coming to you live from the Bank of Zambia here in Lusaka and broadcasting on our Bank of Zambia Facebook page as well as our YouTube channel. I will soon be introducing our guest for this morning. Today we are discussing the phasing out of cheques as a payment instrument here in Zambia, as well as touching on other issues concerning digital financial services and the overall payment systems landscape in Zambia. And we are very privileged today to have the Director of Payment Systems Department here at the Bank of Zambia as our guest. We have Ms. Miriam Kamuhoza. Good morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning and good morning, viewers.
So we're very delighted to have you here and looking forward to the discussion. So by way of just getting into this discussion, maybe you can help us by setting the context for us and explaining exactly what the role of the Bank of Zambia is in the payment systems landscape in Zambia.
Thank you very much for that question, and I'm glad to be here. Just to begin by mentioning that the Bank of Zambia plays a very central role in terms of ensuring safety and efficiency of the national payment system in Zambia. We draw this mandate. We draw this mandate from the Bank of Zambia Act. We also have the National Payment Systems Act and the Banking and Financial Services Act. So under this mandate, the Bank of Zambia is given the responsibility for licensing anybody in the country that decides to provide payment services. According to the National Payment Systems Act, whoever would like to provide these services to the public needs to be designated or licensed by the Bank of Zambia. So we have a licensing process that provides entry and access for the entities that want to operate in this area. Then apart from licensing, we do supervise and we also regulate these entities. After we license them, we monitor them and we oversee their activities to make sure that they maintain the safety and efficiency that the central bank is looking for in terms of a national payment system. We also are responsible for formulating and implementing policy and regulations. So you will find that a number of these directives that we issue as the bank, they actually come under the mandate that we draw from either the Bank of Zambia Act, the National Payment Systems Act, or the Banking and Financial Services Act. We also do operate a payment system as the central bank. We call this as the Zambia Interbank Payment and Settlement System. Some of you may know it commonly as the RTGS system.
Yes.
So we do operate this key infrastructure as the central bank because it's an infrastructure that is used for large value payments between the banks. So we also promote development in the payment system space. This is a space that is fast growing, and therefore the central bank is tasked with driving the development in this area so that we support economic activities even as they also develop. We also undertake, in order to do this, we do undertake research. So that is one of the key roles that we also play. And we also look at some consumer protection issues in collaboration with our CCPC. So the bank actually works very closely with the financial service providers, the payment service providers, the mobile network operators. We also have the fintechs. We also have other regulators, government agencies, and also regional bodies that I'll touch on a little bit later that we closely work with in order to ensure that Zambia has a modern, inclusive, reliable, and secure national payment system.
Thank you very much for that very comprehensive context. It sounds busy.
Very, very big.
So the bank announced in December of 2024 that checks would be discontinued as a payment instrument in Zambia. What are the reasons behind that move?
Thank you very much, Wanga. First of all, if you've been following the statistics that we produce as the Bank of Zambia on our website and also in our various reports, you will note that actually the use of checks has been declining year on year. And this has been significant. And we found that people were migrating to the digital payment platforms. You could see the checks dropping and the digital payments going up.
And so you're not particularly losing people, they're just switching
They're
what they're
just
using.
switching because, of course, the check comes with some inherent properties that it has. It's prone to what we would term as delays. When you deposit a check today or you use a check for payment, it's valid like for 6 months. A person can deposit it within the 6 months, and then it has to go through clearing. It has to find money on the other side when it's presented. So all those are days and they're delays. So you tend to find that individuals and businesses actually are preferring the digital platforms that are faster and a little bit more efficient. Secondly, in order for us to be able to clear and process checks, there are costs that are related to that. We've got infrastructure that we maintain, and it doesn't come without a cost. So checks are declining, and then the cost of maintaining this infrastructure is going up. So you tend to lean towards, should we really be supporting this payment instrument or just phase it out as a nation so that we dedicate those resources to developing further perhaps the digital financial services. We also have the issue of I think I touched on this one on the clearing. You know, sometimes you will present a check for payment, but by the time you are depositing and asking for payment, there's no money on the other side.
Because the person who issued has probably even forgotten, like
In the 6 months, if it gives you the leeway to present it within the 6 months, yes, that can happen. And sometimes you do find that people issue checks on an insufficiently funded account. They know that there's no money, but they issue a check, get the goods, and then you find that the check is dishonored. Other people would know it as bouncing, the check has bounced. It means that you've lost out, there's no money there. And in other cases, you find businesses saying, no, you're not going to get my goods until the check clears. So meaning you as a business person, you are delayed. So these are some of the excuse me, the issues related with the check that probably led to people using less and less of checks in the country. Yes.
Thank you very much. So, what are the timelines for the discontinuation, this change? Because I know that the first announcement came quite early, back in 2024 December. But how is the rest of the progression? What are the timelines?
When you look at the National Payment System Vision and Strategy for 2023-2027, it has the phasing out of checks in it. So it means that we started thinking about phasing out the checks in 2023. So in 2024, we undertook some sensitization and stakeholder engagement in order for us to come up with a roadmap on how we're going to achieve this or transition to a place where we actually discontinue using the checks. So most of 2024 was spent on stakeholder engagement, and which was completed round about December. So after December, we came up with a public notice, and we had sort of like some dates that we're aiming for in terms of phasing out the checks. So the notification actually told us that by February, this was the last day that a customer could actually request for a checkbook. That's February 2025. So we had that date. So you and me could walk into your bank and ask for a checkbook. You had up to February 2025 to do that. Then the last day for the banks to actually issue you a checkbook was the 31st of March. So after 31st of March, the banks discontinued issuing checkbooks to customers. So we phased this in a systematic manner so that everybody's concerns were actually covered and taken care of. And this mostly came out of the stakeholder engagement that we actually undertook previously. Now, the most important dates that people need to be aware of is the 24th of June. On the 24th of June, this is the last day that customers will be able to deposit a check at your bank. So all the individuals out there, all the businesses out there, if you want to issue a check June 2024, I mean to deposit a check, June 2024 will be the last day for you to go and deposit. Then, like I mentioned, once you deposit the check, there's a process behind it. So that process is what we call interbank clearing. So once you deposit on the 24th, those checks will be given a period of 25th, 26th to be cleared. After the 26th, even the interbank clearing will cease. Yes, so 26th June will be the last day in which checks will be processed.
Okay. It sounds, and of course, you mentioned that there was even stakeholder engagement. So it does sound like a properly paced process. It has not been rushed. But maybe you can also just share how exactly you are ensuring that everybody affected is actually aware that this is happening and that they have to deposit by the 24th of June, because come 26th, then check cease to be a payment instrument in Zambia. How are you ensuring that everybody who is affected is actually aware of these developments?
Thank you. Thank you very much, Luanga. So as I mentioned earlier, we undertook stakeholder engagement, and up to now we're still doing that. So we are engaging the banks, we are also engaging the businesses. I think we recently also did our Go Cashless campaigns, and in there we made sure that we also spoke to Cheques. The Go Cashless campaigns actually happen countrywide. So we went to every province and spoke about this. So the stakeholder engagement is very key. And at this point, I just want to also thank the PPDF. They actually helped us to engage the business community and made sure that the business community was well catered for and engaged in this process. That was done in conjunction with the PPDF. And also, we have notices. I think some of you have also received SMSs that are speaking to the June deadlines.
Yes.
We also are using social media where we're reaching out to people like now.
Yes.
We're actually speaking to you and telling you that come June 24th, 2026, you should have deposited all the checks that you have with your bank. And then after the 26th of June, there will be no more checks that will be processed or handled by the stakeholders. So we have all these, and most importantly, the banks themselves, the service providers, they play a key role in actually educating their customers, and they've been tasked to do this, and also in telling them that we're phasing out checks, they are also required to offer alternatives. What are the digital alternatives that a customer, that a business person can use once the checks are actually phased out? So we are continuing to engage the general public up to June. Even after June, if people still have questions, the central bank is still open to take on and answer some of those queries that may come at that time.
Thank you very much. You mentioned alternative payment instruments and in your response, and I'd like you to share more on that. What alternative instruments will people have access to after the checks are phased out? And this obviously will apply to both the people that currently use checks and those that do not. What instruments will they still have access to?
Okay, thank you very much, Wanga, for that important question. We have various other alternatives that a person can actually use in terms of payments. We have what we call the EFTs or the deducts, the direct debit and the direct credit. These you can use for your salaries, you can use for your bill payments and other recurring transfers. Some of you have gone to a service provider and they've told you to sign a deduct form so that every time your bill comes up, that automatically happens on the system and the service provider is actually paid. So there's also the one that I mentioned, which is operated by the Bank of Zambia, which is the RTGS system. So you can also use that as a customer. You can either walk into your branch or use your mobile banking app, so even your USSD, and access your mobile banking facility and be able to initiate an RTGS payment. And we also have what we call mobile payments. These are instant payments that most of you have been using. In fact, we now are able to process a payment within seconds. You know, you're able to pay somebody on your using your phone within seconds. You can pay for goods. You can walk into a shop and still be able to pay using mobile payments. Then we also have the cards. I think the cards also have been used quite widely, and you can see some significant growth. So when we talk about people migrating to digital financial services, we have the most recorded growth within the mobile payments, and also card usage. You can see that people are using more and more of these payment instruments. So as I mentioned, some of them are instant, they are fast. You don't have to wait for tomorrow for the check to clear. So the RTGS, perhaps within 1 or a few hours, you have your transfer, your payment. In fact, we have straight through processing now. The RTGS transaction can actually settle quite fast. So those are some of the instruments that people can use.
And they're efficient. You don't have to be told, no, it clears after 2 days, then come back and collect your goods.
Exactly. So
thank you for that. Ladies and gentlemen, you are watching an episode of the BoZ Online, and our guest this morning is Ms. Miriam Kamhuza, who is the Director of Payment Systems Department here at the Bank of Zambia. We are discussing the phasing out of checks as a payment instrument in Zambia. But beyond that, we are also discussing digital financial services and payment systems in Zambia in general. So, Miriam, the 2025 FinScope survey, the results indicate that mobile money has been a key driver of financial inclusion in Zambia, with formal financial inclusion increasing to 76.4% in 2025 from 61.3% in 2020. This is actually a great improvement. But what is the bank doing, and what more can be done to further increase financial inclusion through digital financial services?
Thank you. First, let me start by expanding on the figures that you have shared. Actually, we've recorded significant growth in terms of mobile payments. Just to add on to the statistics that you've given us, by December 2025, we had about 17 million active mobile accounts. We had over 635,000 active mobile money agents. And as at the end of 2025, we had over 891 billion kwacha processed through these channels. And in terms of the volumes of transactions, we had about 4.9 billion transactions processed within 2025, which was quite significant and probably contributing to the figures that you spoke about in terms of financial inclusion. So what has the bank been doing about this? The bank aims to and has been working on providing an enabling environment. So the bank has actually issued several regulations that have supported this area. We've got the e-money directives that make it possible and govern the mobile payments area so that we ensure that there's safety and efficiency in the way that transactions are processed there. Apart from that, many of you may recall that there was a time that if you are on one mobile money service provider, You couldn't send
Right.
money across. You could only send to either themselves or go to an agent, withdraw, look for the other network, deposit on that agent's, and then transact. So we have what we call the National Financial Switch, which from 2020, we implemented instant payments. So these instant payments now allow for you to send across. You don't have to go to an agent. You don't have to go and withdraw anything to deposit in any other entity. You can now just simply do it using your phone, either your smartphone or even USSD. So you can even now send between banks instantly, and you can send from a bank to a mobile money service provider instantly within seconds, 25 seconds. You've got your money there. So the National Financial Switch has really helped to facilitate this. And this is an infrastructure that the bank facilitated for it to be where it is in order to provide the interoperability that we're talking about. So we have achieved a lot of efficiencies in this regard. We also are working on digitizing the onboarding process. You know, that is a key issue in that would like it to be digital. Right now, you have to take your manual ID to the service providers, submit it, but we're working with various stakeholders to make sure that we put in place something that is digital and will make access faster and usage of these services. We also have network coverage. You know, the expansion of the network coverage, especially to the rural areas,
Yes.
is quite key and important. And therefore, we've been working with ZICTA and other stakeholders to make sure that we are actually increasing coverage in these areas. We are also working together with other stakeholders on financial literacy. Yeah, it's quite important. We need to teach people how to use these digital platforms. So even there, the Bank of Zambia is active. I mentioned the Go Cashless campaign. The
Yes.
Go Cashless campaign has been running for quite some years. We're encouraging people to use digital financial services. They are there, and there are many, many benefits that you can draw as a user, as a business, from using digital financial services. So when we go on these campaigns, we'll highlight the benefits and we'll also speak to you about how to use them safely. Because safety also in this area is very key. So we do share with stakeholders on how you can safeguard your funds when they are in the digital form. We also speak to consumer protection issues, which are also very key, cybersecurity issues, all that we do consider in order for us to make sure that we are working with everybody to build an inclusive, secure, and innovative digital financial ecosystem in Zambia that supports development, economic development in the country.
Those are really impressive numbers. Very well done on that. Because I was thinking that yes, we are talking about financial inclusion, but as you mentioned in your conclusion, we are also supporting the economic development of the country. Because if you are talking about that many mobile money agents, as just one example, that is employment creation already, which then feeds into other aspects, because people now are earning an income and then they are spending in the economy. So it's really, really impressive what you have just shared with us. So the strides that have been made in digital financial services in the uptake, I know that they also present some challenges such as fraud, as well as cybersecurity risks. And you did briefly touch on this when you were explaining. Can you please just take us through the safeguards maybe that the Bank of Zambia has put in place to mitigate these risks?
So, as you mentioned, I did touch on the issue of fraud and cybersecurity. For us, it's very key. You could see that as you digitized, you found that fraudsters also were trying to also take
Take
advantage of this
advantage.
digital
Mhm.
digitization process. So with like with any other payment instrument, even if you have cash right now with you, you know how to safeguard it, isn't it?
Yes.
As for us women, we have bags. In your bag, you have a purse, and you put your money nicely in the purse to make sure that it's secure. Even when you're carrying it, you don't carry it. Maybe
Showing.
it's showing on your pocket, or
Mhm.
you put it in your back pocket and it's showing. You are mindful of the fact
Mhm.
that somebody can actually get their hands on your money and you're safeguarding it.
Mhm.
For men, they have their wallets, which they secure.
Yes.
So when we had the cards being popular or used more, we found that people also, the fraudsters also gravitated towards
The
that.
card.
They started cloning the cards until we put the chip and pin EMV standards in place.
Mhm.
They are there. They will still want to get their hands on your hard-earned money. Even when you go to the market today, there are people there who want to be able to benefit from uh, uh, resources that they never actually
Worked
earned
for.
themselves.
Mhm.
So even with checks, I spoke about it. Checks, there was also um, forging of checks.
Yes.
So just like that, you find that even with DFS, fraudsters are also
Active.
active there. They've actually transformed from being physical, they have now gone digital also, and they are always looking to see how they can actually get their hands on your hard-earned income. So
Mhm.
as the bank, we issued the cybersecurity and risk management guidelines. We issued these to the service providers so that they maintain a certain level of security on their systems in their institutions. We also do provide continuous oversight
Mhm.
and supervision that I spoke about. And we do have regulations and directives that we issue to support to support some of these challenging areas. We also are, like I mentioned, working towards the digitization of the onboarding process. That way, we might be using your biometrics, which makes it a bit more difficult for you to actually get access to these services and begin to scam people. When we're able to identify you positively that this is the person that has actually acquired this particular SIM card.
Mhm.
I also mentioned that we work with ZICTA and also law enforcement agencies. We have been working very closely with these stakeholders. We do, some of you, if you had noted a few months ago, I think there was a clip on TV, the 19 Hours News, where Bank of Zambia had trained about 50 law enforcement agencies regarding cybersecurity issues. So we are working. We cannot fight fraud on our own. Everybody needs to get involved
Mhm.
because everyone is targeted. Sometimes you get a call, the bank doesn't know, the scammer has phoned you. So you need to know how to safeguard yourself.
Yourself.
And these are
Mhm.
some of the issues, information that we disseminate when we go on the Go Cashless campaigns. And also, we also appeal to the customers to also play their part.
Mhm.
Once you encounter such, report them to the service providers, to the
Mhm.
law enforcement agencies.
Yes.
Do not respond. I think I'll speak
Start
to
arguing with them.
no, do not respond.
Mhm.
Just make sure you don't click any links.
Mhm.
Sometimes they're even walking you through
How to do it
how to
so that they
do
scam
something.
you
You've won a
nicely.
promotion. So press star, this, that, and
Mhm.
you start doing it. The next minute, you know, your money is gone from your wallet. So those are the areas where we need also the customer to continue
To
to be alert
continue.
and also play their role and also
Mhm.
share information with their family members, friends on some of these new ways in which fraudsters try to actually take advantage of people. Recently, also,
Mhm.
if you were monitoring social media and also the news,
Mhm.
you noted that with the Payments Association of Zambia and the financial service providers,
Mhm.
issued to the market a standardized
Manual,
manual
yes.
for agents.
Mhm.
We want to also standardize across the country how agents handle transactions. So that manual actually contains issues related to how to safely provide these financial services. And that
Mhm.
is also an initiative that originated from the Bank of Zambia and spread to other regulators and other stakeholders. And only a few days ago, the manual was actually launched together with a digital platform that agents or yourself can actually interact with if you have any questions regarding the services that are offered at the agent network level.
It's really impressive to also hear the innovative steps that are being taken to match the dynamism of the space. Really, it's impressive and also reassuring. So you already mentioned how users can be safe, like don't respond when a scammer is contacting you and whatnot. I'll take you back and request that you give us some more tips. Just how safe can users be? Because human beings, like you can set the best guidelines, the best um, provisions, but human beings will remain the weakest link then if they're not playing their part. So please just give us some more tips on how we can protect ourselves as users.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And indeed, we can never say it enough. And thanks for this opportunity to go into greater details on what people can do. You know, nowadays you even find that the fraudsters are using phone calls. Before it was text messages, but now even a phone call is
And they
quite,
sound convincing. Like,
yes,
no,
yes,
I've got the funeral and I sent this by mistake and I
send it back. They've actually just adjusted the text message and sent it to you. If you are late, you will see that that number is not coming from Airtel. It actually has a cell number on it. That automatically shows you that this is a fraudster. So those are some of the tips and the aspects that we share with people. They use social media, fake promotions, and they just literally just target people. Especially that's why the Bank of Zambia goes to the rural areas as well, because especially in the rural areas, they will continue to target people as long as they don't know or we don't share with them some of these tips. So I'll go ahead to mention some of the key tips. Number one, the golden rule: don't share your PIN, don't share your passwords. Sometimes you get an OTP, a one-time passcode or a PIN, then you share it with somebody near you. You are there transacting, and somebody can see your PIN. Always make sure that you are protecting your PIN. Even when you are on a point of sale in the supermarket, I've often seen people are swiping and they're just typing, like, even use your hand, your simple hand, just to cover so that you safeguard yourself. We also have, you remember when I mentioned the instant payments? They're so instant such that when you send money, money goes within seconds. So we had this issue of I've sent to the wrong account, I've sent to the wrong person. So what we did was to put up a name lookup facility. Right now, when you try to send money, it will actually bring you the name of the person you are sending to. Stop, don't be in a hurry. Stop to check the name. If the name does not match the person that you are trying to send money to, do not send. Call that person and tell them that there's a different name that is coming up. It's not your name. So that name lookup facility is for you and me to make sure that before we click send, we actually check that we're sending to the right person. This is a key aspect. So don't be in a hurry, make sure. And you'll find that some of these service providers now, you have to even click twice. They'll even ask you, do you want to, do you want to send this money? Even 3 times at times. Continue. I've seen that on some of the banks. They are helping you to stop and make sure that we are living in an instant world where transactions are happening every second. So you have to be sure of who you're sending these funds to. And that is our appeal to the general public, that always check. This facility is there for you to use. And then avoid responding to suspicious messages. Don't click links. Don't respond to emails that tell you that you've won so much. Even up to today, people are still falling prey to that. You never entered any competition, but you find that you are being told that you've won something.
Mm.
Only yesterday, somebody was reading a text message to me saying, the job you applied for, you have been successful.
Which job?
Send us your details so that we pay you your salary.
Before you work.
So you see, those are simple things that we could do to avoid falling prey to some of these scams. Another aspect that the bank has always been talking about is to be cautious with these get rich quick schemes. You know, if it's too good to be true, you need to stop and think about it again. It probably isn't true. So those are some of the key areas where customers can play a role to safeguard themselves. There's no getting rich quick. Sometimes somebody will tell you put in 900 today.
And
In
then
the next 2 days, it will be 2,000 or 4,000. How? Where would that money come from? Even if a person had to sell something, how quickly can they sell that and you have so much profit within a very short time? So please, people, confirm promotions with your service providers. Don't just fall for it. Don't just click the links and go to your banks, and also use trusted service providers. We've got a website there. You can go. You can find the entities that the Bank of Zambia has licensed.
Yes.
Some of these entities are not like, if they don't appear there, give us a call or call another regulator just to find out whether that person is licensed or not. So we encourage people to actually use licensed entities and also report suspicious transactions. It's important that the bank knows what's going on the market. It's important that the police, the law enforcement agencies also know what kind of scams people are being subjected to. That way, we can take the appropriate measures to address some of these issues.
Okay, thank you very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are receiving your questions and your comments, and we'll be getting into them shortly. But before we do that, Miriam, there's a question that usually comes up, and it relates to connectivity in the country and how it remains a challenge and a point of frustration for users. Um, what is the bank doing about this particular challenge or situation? Let me not call it a challenge because it does work in some places. So, what is the bank doing about this situation?
The bank does acknowledge, first of all, that we have some of these challenges, especially when it comes to digital financial services. We ride on the network connectivities. So the challenges were more prominent when we had the issues related with the drought. You could actually see it and feel it because the network service providers actually were trying to provide network as much as possible, given the challenges that they were facing. In some cases, you find that we don't have network towers in some rural areas. So that is where I mentioned that the Bank of Zambia and other stakeholders are working towards finding a way in which we can have this connectivity actually improve in some of these areas. So the Bank of Zambia is actually supporting some of these initiatives that ZICTA is actually undertaking. We're working very closely because we want to reach all the rural areas, all the remote areas. We want to be able to reach those areas with digital financial services. Anybody, anywhere should be able to, using their USSD phone, their feature phone, their devices, they should be able to tap into this. So this is one of the key issues actually that we are working with other stakeholders. So efforts are going into that, and we are, as the Bank of Zambia, playing a key role in this regard to promote the connectivity issue or to address some of those issues. But we will continue to support ZICTA. and other stakeholders on this important element for the digital transformation.
Thank you very much. So we will now move to questions from our audience. And the first one is from Haren Chinyemba. Good morning. We appreciate the role digital banking is playing in developing countries like Zambia, and that the phasing out of checks has come as the result of high record of financial crimes. I think you will want to to repeat your other reasons. Um, the question is, what measures is Bank of Zambia employing to improve digital financial services in rural areas of Zambia? I think this would just be a restatement of some of the points that you've already shared. And you may guide. Would you like me to read the second question, or do you want to speak to this one
Or what's
first?
the second question?
So the second question is from Jones Kamocha. On conducting research, as earlier mentioned by Ms. Miriam Kamhuza, does Bank of Zambia engage with institutions such as universities and colleges? If yes, what does it take for such institutions to be engaged or participate in such research programs? So
Okay.
we can start with this for now.
So the first one is touching on phasing out of checks and what is the Bank of Zambia doing to
To, im-
reach
to
the
improve DFS
DFS, especially
in
in the rural areas.
areas,
Yes,
yes.
I think I did touch on that in terms
Mhm.
of us ourselves making an effort to go into the rural areas to talk about the benefits of digital financial services. To also, while we're doing that, we're also listening to people's challenges. If there are network challenges in a place, we'll actually gather that information, share it with our fellow regulators or relevant stakeholders when we come back. So in the rural areas are quite unique. So you do find that even as the DFS space was growing,
Mhm.
there were challenges in the rural areas, challenges with even the agent network. But right now, we have worked with the service providers to ensure that the agents are found even in the deepest and remotest places. They are there. And the coverage issue in the rural areas, I think that is on our plates, as I mentioned. And only recently, I think the Bank of Zambia is supporting putting up of towers in the rural
In the
areas.
rural areas
And
as
that
well.
is what we have said, that these towers should go into the rural areas so that people that don't have access to the network are able to have access. We also supported the service providers when they were having challenges with during the drought
Mhm.
space. Some of them were getting gen sets to power the towers. The Bank of Zambia was supporting this. You didn't see it, but we were
Mhm.
quite keen to support them because we realized that digital financial services were riding on the networks, and the networks needed to be up and running for you and me to be able to make those payments.
Mhm.
So these are some of the ways in which the Bank of Zambia tries. And we did specify that these resources should go into the peri-urban urban areas so that the towers that may not have too much support were then supported at that time. So we are mindful of the rural areas. And even when we're getting rid of the checks, we
Mhm.
did realize that actually checks are not very used in the rural areas. If you go to the village right now, somebody will not even know what
What
a
it
check
is.
is.
I was actually thinking the same even about our younger audience. Like I wish I had come with my checkbook to show them this is what we are talking about,
Yeah,
because maybe they've never
they've
seen
never
one before.
interacted with it. I also can't remember when I last used a check
Mhm.
because we've got these instruments. You don't even need to go to your branch. Ask yourself sometimes, when did you last visit your bank branch?
Mhm.
You can literally do all your financial transactions using devices remotely, which is what mobile payments and digital financial services has brought. And for us, the rural areas are really something that has continued to be our priority as a central bank to support.
Mm. Thank you. And then the second question on engaging universities
Oh, yes.
and colleges in sensitization. How can they go about it if that is something that is done?
As I mentioned earlier, I think I mentioned the PPDF as stakeholders in sending out messages. We have worked with we've worked with the Chamber of Commerce in disseminating this information. We've worked with ZICTA where we've gone around the countries. So we do work with different stakeholders. If they are interested in working with us, they can simply write to the Bank of Zambia that they are interested in working with us, and it will be considered. And we do look at the impact that it will make when we work with stakeholders. So we change. Different years will target that. Look, we want to target the small businesses. So we'll go and look for perhaps an association or an entity that governs this, and then we reach out to them and we together sensitize those people. Like I mentioned, this cannot be done by the Bank of Zambia alone.
No,
We need
true.
other stakeholders to fight the fraud issues, to make sure we're getting the information out there, to drum out the benefits of going digital. The instant payments are available 24/7, 365 days of the year. You can conveniently buy your electricity at any time now. You don't have to wait for
They should
Zesco
open the
to
store
open
and yeah.
or an outlet to open the store. No, you can actually buy those tokens and pay your bills at any time, which is quite convenient for the economy.
Thank you very much. We have some questions from YouTube as well, but I'll skip this one because you covered it extensively when you talked about how the bank is working to mitigate the risks that have come with the increased uptake of DFS. So you did speak about what the bank is doing to reduce the risk of fraud as well as cybersecurity risks. So I'll skip that. And if you are watching us and you missed that part, please, you can go back to our recording. Our recording is going to remain available on our Facebook page as well as our YouTube channel, and you can watch and catch up on the responses that were provided earlier. So I'll just go to the next question from the same member. Given the sensitivity of biometric data, how will the bank address privacy risks if private banks manage biometric onboarding? And will customers have a genuine opt-in or opt-out choice for digital ID? I think they're responding to your earlier point where you were saying that you would like to digitize the onboarding and just make it quicker and more efficient. So maybe you can address that, and then I will share 3 more questions. And the ones that come after that, we can just take outside of the program. We'll be able to respond to the audience outside of the program. But for now, we have this, and maybe I can also just read I'll read a second one. What measures, this is from Munarula Roberts, what measures has the central bank put across all the banks, considering the fact that the system goes down for almost an entire day? Won't that affect the cost of doing business when one can't access their money due to a system upgrade and or system down? So maybe you can take these two, the one on biometrics, how safe will people's data be? And this one on system downtime.
Thank you very much for the digital onboarding. Zambia will not be the first country to actually implement this. Digital onboarding and digital IDs are working in other countries, and mainly this data sits with the government, and if we are to develop a system, the system needs to speak to the system where government keeps this data, and it must be done in a secure manner, and it must sit in a secure place. And we have standards for this. In fact, maybe it will just be verifying. Just, oh, we've got this person who would like to open an account, and their names are ABCD and their number is this. It knocks and says, this person with this digital ID, are they who they claim to be? And it will be able to verify. If we have a device at the service provider that you can put your fingerprints and it will query the database that government has. So that is the kind of solution that we are looking at, so that the data sits where it is supposed to sit, and we draw on it and we verify a person. But just suffice to say that when we're putting up such infrastructures, we are looking at the law, we are looking at the Data Protections Act, we are looking at the various laws that safeguard. And remember when I spoke to you about consumer protection?
Yes.
Consumer protection is also at the center and a key issue for the central bank. So when we're developing this, we are engaging various stakeholders on how we could possibly advance in a certain way so that you, the customer, you are safeguarded. Today, when you access these services, there are terms and references for customers. Take time to read some of those terms and references. We have insisted on those at the central bank for a reason, so that you know how your information will be processed, how your data will be used. So take time to read those. Sometimes we download apps and the app will pop up to say, your data will be used. We don't even read, you just
You
click
just say yes, yes, yes,
because
yes.
you want to be able to use that app. You just go, yes, yes, yes. And these apps are developed even outside the country. So people are already doing that. They are already authorizing for data to be shared. And that is where now the central bank comes in to put regulations around together with other stakeholders. The people who are entrusted with data protection, the people who are entrusted with network where this data goes through. Yes, ourselves as the central bank, as overseers of the service providers, the core banking systems, the core systems that the mobile network providers are using, have they put in the correct protocols and standards to be able to share your data more safely?
And in an ethical manner.
Yeah. So that is what we are doing. Even the customer yourselves, we engage you to ask you, what is it that you want to see? We did carry out a feasibility study, I think 2024, where we engaged even with the customers and asked about data and which type of data they would have wanted to be shared. So this is a developing space, and stakeholders are continuously being engaged, and we are hoping that we can be able to provide digital financial services in a safer environment, safer manner.
That is very reassuring. I had asked a question earlier, but I'm going to repeat it because I'm going to ask another one. They are related. So I'll ask these final two questions from the audience.
Is it part of the other one that was asked? You had talked about too.
Yes.
Okay.
So I'll just refresh your memory and then add
the other one.
Yes.
That's fine.
So this first one is from Munarula Roberts. What measures has the central bank put across all the banks, considering the fact that the system goes down for almost an entire day? Won't that affect the cost of doing business when one can't access their money due to a system upgrade and or system down? Then the second question is from Malik Malekano. Does the bank as a regulator penalize the banks for times when you need to transact and the system is down? This is quite inconveniencing. Sometimes you're in a supermarket after getting things, then you can't pay because your bank system is down. So these are the two questions.
They are quite related. Just to mention that as a central bank, we do not want to see the system go down the whole day. In fact, we've got an RTO recovery time of 2 hours. And even that 2 hours, we don't desire for that 2 hours to be exhausted. So in our regulations and in our licensing and interactions with these entities, we insist on business continuity measures to be put in place. We insist on entities to have DR sites where their business and services can continue even if they have disruption on their primary service platform. So this is something that the bank also takes very seriously, because as mentioned, you can imagine that you want to make a payment, you've got your goods and you're at the till, and the system is unable to process that. And these days you find that you're not even moving with cash. So what
You
do
only
you
have
do?
your ears.
Yes. So as the central bank, we put in standards. We have standards that the service providers are supposed to abide by. And we put in thresholds in terms of availability. Their systems have to be available. When they go beyond a certain threshold, we are now onto them. We are now asking them, what is the problem? And we've got monitoring, daily monitoring that we do as a central bank, and we've got data that comes in that helps us to monitor some of these downtimes that banks may have. We have returns that they are required to submit to actually tell us. We've got incident reports that they're required to give us on a daily basis. And once we see that there's a problem, we actually follow it up. We do appreciate the customers out there because we monitor social media as well. When somebody complains, immediately our team picks it up. They're engaging that service provider to find out what the problem is and how they've resolved it, how they're going to resolve it. Even when they resolve it, we're asking them, how are they going to ensure that it doesn't reoccur? So they are required to report immediately downtimes, and then after that, give us a full report of what could have led to that. Other times, the Bank of Zambia has actually physically gone onto site to see what is going on, to make sure that those services are restored and people are able to use those services. So this is an area that is prioritized by the Bank of Zambia. Even when you come for a license, we'll be looking at that. What cybersecurity measures have you put in? What measures have you put in as backup to make sure that your systems continue to work and you continue to provide the necessary services to the customers?
Oh, thank you very much. We have so many questions still coming in, and we are all enjoying the discussion, and we wish that we could keep you for another hour, but we also know that you're supposed to go back to your other work. So, ladies and gentlemen, we've been speaking to Ms. Miriam Kamhuza, who is the Director of Payment Systems Department here at the Bank of Zambia. I've seen there are still so many questions that are coming through Facebook as well as YouTube, but we are coming to the end of this particular program. However, we are still going to remain online, so we are going to respond to your questions. I will share the questions with the director, and she'll give the responses, which we will then come and paste in the thread. So if you watch the recording and you still have another question, feel free to still send it, but please watch, because you may find that what you want to ask about was already addressed by the director in her discussion. But thank you very much for joining us today. And thank you very much, Miriam. That was very insightful and interesting to follow what is actually happening in the payment system space in Zambia, as well as the phasing out of the checks. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Luanga, and thank you very much to the viewers that took time to listen to this particular session. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day, everybody. Bye-bye.